Welcome to Vibrational Revelations. Today's special guest is Teya Danel, who lives in Canada. I can't remember where in Canada, but she'll let us know. I know it's French part of Canada. I think so. No, but you do speak French. Yes, I do remember the French. And this is, as always, we always say, it is probably one of the most important episodes to watch, the hero's journey, because it showcases what is truly possible for the human experience. And also it opens our hearts to leaving judgment aside and seeing what every human being goes through and how everyone matters in this reality, in this lifetime, in any lifetime. Everyone matters. Everyone plays an important role. And today's all about Teya. So welcome, Teya. Please remind me where in Canada you are.
I'm on Vancouver Island.
Vancouver Island, that's it. And you do speak French, correct?
I am. It's my roots. I came from Northern Ontario.
Okay.
North of Sudbury, in a small little town.
Okay, that's wonderful. All right. Now, I cannot see Teya. She disappeared from our screen. Hold on, Alejandro's just did a couple of things. Teya, I just want to make sure your camera is on and you can see us.
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, because we cannot see you now, but that's all right. I guess you will appear. Is your camera on is your camera on, by the way?
Yeah, everything's on.
Okay, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll start with your frequencies and then please share with us. Of course, we're not going to go into the deep emotions. We'll go through your numbers and then you'll be able to share, of course, as much as you feel like sharing in this episode. And we did do a couple of things which will be a surprise for you because we wanted to recheck where you stand in a couple of areas where you've had some lower numbers. So we will share that with you. We didn't give it to you before, but we will be sharing it with you today.
And I'd like to do my sharing after you have gone through my numbers. I've actually prepared something because I wanted to give people a real experience of what it's like to live my life in those frequencies.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful.
Thank you. All right, you incarnated at the frequency of 350, which is the frequency of acceptance. And you were born at the frequency of 110, which is fear. Oh, 1 second, I'm sorry. Alejandro, you can't change that because all the names just appeared on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
For hope. Sorry.
Yes, we want to see her face.
I know. Sorry. Your overall frequency as of today is 350, which is acceptance. And again, this reading was done back in April. So these numbers come from April. And of course, a couple of numbers we've rechecked and you have shifted. We don't know how much you've shifted overall, but that's where you were back in April. You viewed your health through the lens of 500. And we often say that when we give these readings, it's not about how healthy or unhealthy someone is, but this has more to do with the emotion, the predominant emotion that serves as a lens through which you perceive that particular aspect of your life. And of course, Teya has quite a journey with her health. So this will be very interesting. Finances you view through the lens of 110, which is fear. And what's interesting, we checked it. And as of today, the frequency for finances has shifted for you to 250. So it's no longer an imbalance.
Oh.
So that's wonderful. Creativity back in April, you viewed through the lens of 310, which is willingness. Relationships, you viewed through the lens of fear, 110. And of course, we checked it as of today. Your frequency for relationships has gone up to 200, courage. So good for you. Personal growth, you view through the lens of love, 500. Philanthropy, 250. Philanthropy, the art of sharing and giving, and you viewed it through the lens of neutrality. Intuition, overall, the lens of intuition for you, which we always say it's not about how intuitive you are, but it's how much do you trust the guidance that you receive. And when you do receive it, what emotion gets triggered or the filter that you apply to translate the messages, right? And for you, the overall frequency is 250. And then clairaudience was 310, clairsentience 110, fear, clairvoyance 250, and claircognizance 110. For some reason, we did not recheck the claircognizance, but we did recheck your clairsentience, which is right now at 250. So you've shifted out of that. It will be interesting to recheck your claircognizance.
Yeah, the reason is that you just asked for this one.
Oh, because I didn't see it. I didn't see the other one.
Now we know the reason. Next time.
Next time.
Now we're going to percentages, right? In the joy, 80%. In the ego, 84%, and 77% of that represents the inferior version of the ego. In the now, 64%. Integrity, 89%. Self-awareness, 80%. Clarity, 81%. Alignment with divine purpose, 91%. And alignment with personal purpose, 94%. Compassion, 99%. Empathy, 92%. And energy purity, 96%. Now, we did, when it comes to dimensions, you were experiencing life 27% of the time on the fifth dimension, the popular 5D.
Yes, so now we'll go through your frequencies, through the numbers throughout your life. And it will be fascinating, of course, to hear your stories. We're not going to share the emotions and the events that contributed to the drop, of course, that you have experienced. But, you know, in the private readings, we do go through the emotions of the drop. So in Teya's case, she had a drop from 350 to 110, right? From the incarnation to birth. And we gave her this information of what her mom experienced that contributed to the drop. And then we'll go through the rest of the numbers throughout your life. And of course, there was a major drop that had you stay this frequency. And I know that you are so looking forward to sharing this information with all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so you were born at the frequency of 110. That's the level of fear. And you stayed at that frequency until the age of 15. And then you experienced your second drop technically, because as Elena mentioned, the first drop took place at birth. And this time you dropped from 110 to 55, which is the level of apathy. And the first drop, that drop took place between the ages of 16 and 20. But you remained experiencing the level of apathy until the age of 45. So it means that, you know, the remaining years from 21 all the way to 45, it was just a reflection of what took place between 16 and 20. Mm-hmm. Right? Then your frequency increased to 125. That is the level of desire. And you remained at that level between the ages of 46 and 50. And from that point, your frequency continued to increase. You went into courage, the level of courage at 200. And you stayed at that level between the ages of 51 and 55. Then your frequency increased again to 310, the level of willingness. And you experienced that level from the ages of 56 and 60. Then your frequency increased again to 350, the level of acceptance. And you experienced that level between the ages of 61 and 64. And well, you until April 19th, you were at 350, the level of acceptance. Yes. It's very possible that your frequency has increased.
And people wonder, what is that 50 frequency that we often talk about? And whenever there's massive trauma that occurs in someone's life, and for some people, it might seem like it's not that big of a trauma. Every person experiences trauma in a different way. And it's a shield, truly a shield of protection that a person will build around themselves in order to cope and dissociate, right, with aspects of themselves in order to cope with a tremendous amount of stress and difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
And we did measure before incarnation, yes.
Yes. Before incarnation was 400. But what I wanted to point out is that it's very likely that your overall frequency is higher than what it was back in April, which was 350, since you have transcended those two aspects that were below 200, finances and relationships, and also linked the clairsentience, linked to the intuition, right? But the intuition was at 250.
I was hoping you would have told me.
More than likely, your overall frequency
has gone up.
Yes.
So please share your story of, and first of all, I wanted to know, when we gave you your initial reading, your initial analysis, right? Were you surprised, because I can't remember now, it's been April, were you surprised by your numbers in relationships? Was that a surprise for you?
Well, both the numbers were a surprise, especially the relationships. But in retrospect, and as I've been giving it some more thought, it doesn't really come as a surprise anymore, because I really got in that first session I had with you that it was really about trust. I had lost trust, so connecting with people, there was that level that I just didn't trust. So it made sense then with what the numbers came. And when you hear my story, then it'll make even more sense as to why that was so low.
Yes. So I always say that the only thing, if there's one thing to do, is just to look at someone's numbers. In your case, Teya, of course, you just look at your numbers. You see how much it has taken you and how long it has taken for you to overcome those frequencies. Of course, we all want to know what it is that has helped you shift after 50 years of your life and step into this courageous frequency of 200, which for you, it took 50 years, right, to get to. What was it that created this massive dissociation for you, this massive trauma, if you're, of course, wanting to share this information? I think you said you do, that contributed to this big drop for you, where you've stayed in that disassociation, apathy, right, this giant shield of protection for yourself.
So there's two questions.
Two questions, yes.
Yes. What contributed to the drop, and what contributed to the
rise?
To the rise, yes.
As I read my story, it will unfold. And you'll see exactly what it was, what the actual triggers were that helped to move me to where I am. There are so many gifts that come from adversity.
Yes.
And I need to mention, in some of the sessions that I've been watching, survival came up for me, and I was thinking, I wonder what survival is, what the frequency of survival is. And after you read my numbers, like, I totally got it. It's apathy. And then I took it one level further, because I realized that my story is me in survival mode. So I had to go and look in the dictionary and really get clear on what the hell is apathy. So this is what I came up with, and I want to just share it with everyone, because it's very important to get that base, So lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern, lack of motivation and suppression of passion, lack of feeling or emotions, suffering, being numb, state of indifference, surrendering to negative conditions, loss of trust. And as Margaret said in her previous reading, shielding from the pain. So it's a shield that you put around you. And I found out in my little research that it affects more than 10 million American adults, so let alone what it affects people around the world. And the other big word for me was betrayal. When you first talked about betrayal, it's like, well, what is that? What is that? And the best definition I came for that one was when someone you trust lies to you, cheats on you, abuses you, or hurts you by putting their own self-interests first. And then I went, okay, I really get it now. So those were kind of the initial feelings and thoughts, excuse me, thoughts that came through, where I really got to say, okay. And then I started to delve deeper. And then as I knew that you had invited me to do this session, for which I was really grateful, because, you know, when someone spends 30 years of their life at the 55 level, it's like, okay, so what is it about that? And I didn't want to just be spontaneous. I wanted to just really focus on that, to give people that experience and to show how we can rise up. So if that's good now, I can just start, and I'll just
go
through.
Feel free.
Yes, please.
I'm a good communicator and I'm a good writer, and it comes through, and then I can be really, you know, really clear about what I share. So here we go. So birth to 15 years, I was at the 110 level. I was born 6 weeks premature and was immediately placed in an incubator for a period of time with my hands and feet tied so I could not pull out the tubes in my nose. It completely interfered with the bonding process between my mom and I, and subsequently we were never close. I was also not breastfed, which increased the separation. As I grew up, I was a sickly child, and it turned out I was born with a congenital heart disease, which only surfaced when I was 10 years old. I was told then that my life expectancy was around 20, and in order to survive into adulthood, I needed an open heart surgery at age 12. I left my body for the first time during that operation, and I distinctly remember looking down on my body from above the operating table. I was raised in a dysfunctional Acadian French-Canadian family and have native Métis blood in my ancestry, of which I'm very proud. My parents were alcoholics, and we lived in a small town in Northern Ontario. We ended up with 5 kids in the family, and I was the oldest. Thankfully, I got to spend some time living with my grandparents, and those times were some of the best in my life that I can remember. I grew very close to my grandma. Throughout my childhood, I was subjected to inappropriate fondling and emotional abuse lasting for many years, not only from my father, but many other men, including uncles and male teachers, etc. I was suppressed physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Dad was a my way or the highway kind of guy, and I was never allowed to speak my truth. My dad cheated on my mom throughout my childhood, and it caused untold drama and pain in my family, and set me up for unhealthy relationships with men that I attracted throughout my life. I began experimenting with drugs at age 14, and my first trip was on acid. I managed to stay away from needles and cocaine, but tried just about everything else to escape my reality. I could never handle alcohol, as it always made me throw up. And so as I grew older, I focused more on marijuana to escape my reality. It became an ongoing habit, and I even stole money from my parents to feed that habit. When I was 14, going on 15, I began hanging out in bars on occasion, since I looked older than I was and could get away with it. One time I was picked up by a bouncer who took me to his home. I remember waking up from being drugged the next day in an unfamiliar room in a strange bed with no recollection of what had happened while I was there or how I even managed to leave. In retrospect, I believe I came very close to being taken as a human trafficked victim, but somehow my angels or God interceded and I was spared that horrific experience. I think I had enough going on. So I was ongoingly discriminated against and taunted by my classmates in school because of my French origins. We were looked upon as second-class citizens. It's amazing how people go there. I mean, just from a language basis that they do that. Anyway, during a school trip to Ottawa in grade 9, I was offered drugs by classmates in the hotel we stayed at and raped by a group of 3 or 4 English-speaking boys who afterwards kept calling my home, asking if I was pregnant. To add insult to injury, those guys also threw papers and things at me in school hallways, which was very humiliating, to say the least. At some level, I felt responsible and guilty for everything that happened to me, and I had to deal with all that pain on my own. There was no one in my life I could reach out to support me through any of it. Thank God I was a strong and determined kid, because I managed to get through this period and somehow healed myself and moved on as best as I could. Not long after that period, I was used and abused by a 19-year-old who sodomized me as part of my ongoing intro into sexuality. For a romantic like me who was dreaming of the handsome, loving guy that would come into my life and carry me away, those experiences were completely devastating. When I turned 15, I ran away from home the first time to live with a boyfriend I had met on a beach a few weeks before. We spent the summer together partying and doing drugs, and when he left to go back to his hometown, I ended up moving in with two bikers I didn't even know. Thankfully, after a few days there, my survival instinct kicked in and guided me to call my grandma. I did listen a bit to my intuition, and I remember instances of it coming through, but I was pretty out of touch. She encouraged me to come back home and finish my high school, which I did. Who knows what would have happened to me if I'd stayed with those guys. My grandmother died shortly after I returned home, and I was brokenhearted as she was the only person I felt who ever truly cared for me. Now, from 16 to 45, I dropped down to 55, and I think this dip was very likely initiated when I lost my grandmother, as I felt more alone than ever when she passed away. I left home for good after finishing high school at 16 and moved away to be close to that boyfriend that I'd spent the summer with the year before. During our 7 tumultuous years together, he was unfaithful on many occasions, which caused a lot of conflict and grief in our personal relationship. We went traveling around the world together for 2.5 years, and he even managed to have an affair during the trip. When that fling ended, we got back together and finished the trip we had started, and we then went our separate ways upon our return to Canada. I remained single for 8 years after the breakup and became self-employed as a desktop publisher, and was always struggling to earn enough money, so there was always worry associated with supporting myself and having enough, although somehow I always managed to get by. My mother passed away at 52 when I was 28. She did not have a happy life. She'd always been fully traumatized by her life with my father, and she was the most fearful and neurotic person I knew. It was around that time that I met Roberto from South Africa, who was living in the US at the time. He had a self-improvement business, and I served as his secretary and assisted with workshops he led throughout the world. 4 years after meeting up, he became my husband, and we had 2 beautiful sons, 6 years apart. 10 years later, we parted ways, and I was left with 2 young children and minimal financial support. By then, they were 4 and 10 at the time. He moved to Europe to live with another woman, and eventually, I regretfully sent my oldest son to live with him, as I could not cope with raising 2 boys on my own. I only realized once I was out of the relationship that he was a narcissist, and he abused me mentally and emotionally. He was what's called a crazy maker. He preached one thing and then did the opposite. He did not walk his talk. He also committed adultery ongoingly during our marriage, which was very hard on my self-esteem. I'd always despised the dynamics between my mom and my dad, and here I was immersed in the very same situation. How the hell did that happen, I often thought. They do say we marry our fathers, and it sure felt like I'd done so. Oh, there was a little aside, there was a little bright lining in between all of these experiences that I had, and I needed to mention it because the 2 people that I met personally, you've actually interviewed. As an aside, Roberto was friends with Jacob Lieberman, who I got to meet in the early 90s and have lunch with. And we also had David Icke in our home overnight during those years when we hosted events at our community center. Interesting how we're all so connected, it's never an accident what happens. So then we move on from age 46 to 50 to the level of desire. This is where it gets really interesting. I got divorced at 47 and moved to Vancouver Island and became self-employed as a massage therapist and worked part-time in a Jamaican restaurant to make ends meet. I smoked pot on and off for many years, and during this time, my coping mechanism took the form of daily doses of cannabis, which became an issue and was partly responsible for what occurred next. At 49, I had a major motor vehicle accident that changed my life forever. My youngest son was also involved in the accident. I was airlifted to Vancouver Hospital in critical condition and was in a coma for 6 days. While I was in a coma, I remember clearly another out-of-body experience. I was resting in a dark room with what felt like an angel at my side, along with all the intravenous equipment. And I could see a lit doorway at the end of the room on the left. I was very peaceful and felt totally taken care of and supported. That experience was so real to me that once I came out of the coma, I was looking all around the ICU room trying to locate that little room I'd been to, or so I imagine. I couldn't tell. The first thing I saw upon waking up was the state of my body. I had braces and all kinds of things on my leg. I could hardly even see myself. And then the horrific thought came to me that I'd been in an accident, and then the even more drastic realizations that my son had been in the car with me. I was so afraid that he had died and could not fathom how I would ever make it through if he had. He was only 8 years old. Much to my enormous relief, I glanced around me and spotted photos that were pinned to my bed, and immediately saw David, my son, in a hospital bed with a big grin on his face next to my sister. I knew then that he had survived and he was okay. I've never been so relieved in my life. And I cried with joy and was thankful that my sister had had the foresight to put that photo up for me. I sustained serious injuries to my legs, my left arm, and my face was crushed in, and my ribs were broken. I was really a broken mess, and yet there I was in bed, hardly able to move my body or to take care of my basic needs, and I felt a calmness and a peace wash over me, and I've never felt so strong or powerful in my whole life. There was a huge shift that occurred as I surrendered and gave myself to Spirit. I knew then that I would get through this adversity somehow and I would be okay, although I was not sure I would ever walk again. I'm a bionic woman now. I had another surgery a week or so later to fix my broken face, and another 2 more once I returned to Victoria. I think I lost count. I was transferred back to Victoria after a month in Vancouver, and then spent 2 more months in hospital recovering with my son. So that was 3 months in all in hospital. And I remember David visiting me in his wheelchair every few days. He had broken his left arm and leg in the accident as well. I remember fondly having wheelchair races with him in the hallways. After 6 months, I was still awaiting another surgery, which would incapacitate me for another 3 months. And I had to make another heartbreaking decision to let my youngest son go to Europe and join his brother, as I lived alone and had no one to care for him during my recovery period. This was not how I envisaged marriage and family life, and never in a million years did I think I would divorce, let alone be parted from my children. And that's where the level of courage came in, because I think when I had that hit and when I had that car accident, everything just shifted, because I felt stronger than I've ever felt in my life. And there I was at the level of courage. Okay, I can handle this. I can do this. Mm-hmm. So I know without a doubt that the accident propelled me to the level of courage. I worked very hard every day in hospital, in physio, and at home, and managed to slowly get back on my feet and walk again. I was so thrilled. I had to go through intense pain as my left arm and my right leg had atrophied, and they had to be pried open. It was like a definite no pain, no gain kind of scenario, that's for sure. When I came out of hospital, I was waddling like a duck, and I thought to myself, how can I live the rest of my life like that? Through a friend, I met a Heller worker and was gifted 12 sessions by an unknown benefactor. After the 12 sessions, I started to walk straight like a human being again. I was so deeply grateful for the incredible support I received to get back on my own 2 feet. I had started in an electric wheelchair and worked my way out from there to crutches and a cane and finally freestanding. I was so thankful for that miracle. It reminded me of Manuela when she was sharing, because I had a similar experience to her. I remember standing still in my living room, holding on to my crutches, closing my eyes, having Jesse Cook blasting out of the speakers. And in my mind's eye, I was dancing on both legs and swirling around without any crutches at all. I felt so free in those moments. I had lost the use of my left arm for quite a while after the surgery, and so I started to create jewelry and used it as a tool to regain full function. It worked like a charm, and it also provided me with a new career. At 53, I met Patrick, a guy who over time showed me his passive aggressive side. Again, this stuff going on with men, you know, it's like the story of my life. So there I was at age 56 at the level of willingness. I became a full-time jewelry artist at this time and ended up working at a summer market for 10 years in all. During my time with Patrick, I did a lot of detoxes and tried different dietary protocols to heal myself, as I had ongoing pain and discomfort with my gallbladder, which lasted over a 10-year period. At its worst, I was having attacks every week, and I can tell you that pain is way worse than childbirth. Somehow, in the end, I managed to hang on to my gallbladder, and thankfully, I still have it to this day. I'm very proud of that. Things were never really good with Patrick, and we started to drift apart quite rapidly. He was jealous of my boys, which I could never understand, and of course, that created a whole lot of strife. We finally parted ways when I was 60 after having spent 8 years together. Then took me to the level where I am now, to the level of acceptance. And that is when Bill showed up in my life. From the beginning, I could sense he was a godly, goodly man of strong character and high moral compass, and I felt safe, loved, and honored by him. He was so different than any of the other men I had been with, and was a very handsome man inside and out. We were both catalysts for each other in our transformation, as his heart had been deeply hurt in his previous relationship, and we both still had a lot of healing to do. The biggest gift I received at that point was when, after sharing my vibrational reading with him, he looked up at me and said, "Book me in for a session." Now, this is a guy who's a bit shy and doesn't like to be put on the spot, and especially given that he didn't really like the whole Zoom scene to begin with. With Bill, I felt I had met my match, and we've really only had one small issue come up in the last 5 years of being together. He had his reading last Thursday and certainly confirmed our compatibility in so many ways. And I'm happy to share with everyone that it really is never too late to create a loving and healthy relationship in one's life. It took me 3 shots at it, and then I hit the bullseye, so to speak. I look forward to growing younger and more joyful together as we share the rest of our days in love and harmony. Now that ends the story of these frequency, and then I had some things to speak about just from the vibrational. Should I just keep going and finish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So now we're in the present moment. It brings us to the now.
Mhm.
And it's about you guys and my journey with what I've been experiencing. My vibrational revelation session with Elena and Alejandro was indeed very revealing, and the life reading took it to a whole new level. It helped me understand with compassion where I came from, how I got to where I am now, and where I'm headed in my life. And it allowed me to go within to find answers and clarity, and to truly learn to trust in my process. I now have a good roadmap showing areas in my life where I need to improve in order to keep raising my frequencies to higher and higher levels, because that is my goal. I was amazed and a bit puzzled that I was at the 500 frequency in my health, as it had been an ongoing journey to heal myself, and I was still experiencing all kinds of health challenges. So a month after my initial reading, I decided to book a wellness consultation with Elena to get to the bottom of my ongoing health issues. Now, much to my shock and surprise, her consultation uncovered that I was still harboring way too many viruses and toxins, et cetera, that I had no idea were even present. It was kind of discouraging in a way, because I thought I'd come so far, and there I was back to square one again. I thought to myself, how is it possible that I can still be so toxic, especially with everything I do to stay healthy? I've done more detoxing and dietary alterations and taken more supplements in my life than anyone I know. I truly believed I was doing well overall, and boy, was I mistaken. If my body can still be so compromised with everything I do to stay healthy, I thought, what does it say about everyone else in my life? You know, that's so bizarre. Anyway, with regards to my ongoing pot habit, I'd been thinking of giving it up for some time and was waiting for them to do a video on recreational drugs to confirm my inevitable decision. I already knew inside that the numbers for cannabis would be low. And once I confirmed that it was 50, I stopped the very next day and have not smoked now in 4 months. I never did enjoy being dependent on that substance and was so relieved to put an end to it for once and for all. I don't need any crutches anymore, you know. I've been doing Elena's wellness protocol now for the past 9 weeks. And between the work I've done with both of them and the conscious breathing group that I joined 3 months ago, I called it rebirthing in my 20s. I did a fair bit of it and then didn't do it for a long time. I should have kept it going. I've had and continue to have major breakthroughs and insights that are truly freeing my soul and my being at all levels. By doing the connected breathing, I came to the realizations that I've never really known how to breathe for my whole life, which began at birth with the medical intervention that was initially put in place and the suppression and soul fragmentation that I've lived with most of my life. I'm now learning that it is safe to breathe, and most of all, I have found my voice to share my wisdom and knowledge. There's nothing stopping me now as I've reconnected with my soul. Whew. Hey, I did pretty good up till now. Emotions are starting to sneak in now. And I finally come home to myself. I've been a truth seeker all my life, and with vibrational revelations, I have finally found a system that shows me nothing but the truth, and for that, I will forever be grateful. I am grateful to Elena and Alejandro and to the community of beautiful, loving souls that I am part of. I love you all so much. I have a little song that I want to sing. Maybe I should just do it now because it was one of the recommendations you made in one of the readings, and it's the Ho'oponopono chant. I love music. It's always played a big part in my life and has always brought me so much joy. And this song is the Ho'oponopono chant. And I just tell you a little briefly, I had learned about it and started doing it. And then I went to Vancouver and visited a friend of mine who's a musician. And we were having a sauna together. And I looked at her and I said, Julie, there's a song I want to share, or there's words I want to share with you, you know, that's supposed to help healing. And it comes from Hawaii. And we're very connected that way. So I spoke the words to her. And then she looked at me and she says, Teya, let's turn it into a song. I went, okay. You know, I thought, well, what kind of song can you make from that, right? Well, man, she blew me away because it was like, I sing it now to myself because I feel music is so powerful. It's always been, I remember words from old songs from way back when. So we invented it right there in the sauna, and she actually went on to record it with her choir. She was doing a choir at the time. So it's even available on the web, on her website.
Amazing.
So, yeah, so it goes like this. I want to give that to people because I think it's such a powerful, powerful song. So let's see if I can get through it, because sometimes I cry when I sing these things because it does. It's so, so deep and so precious. Okay, deep breath. Okay. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you for letting me share all of this.
Thank you. I'm
Beautiful.
crying.
There is one other little song, but can I use it at the end? Because it'll bring everything right back up. And once everybody's done sharing, it's a very short one, but it's a very powerful one. I've been using it in my meditation every day. I go through now that I've got tuning forks, I go through the tuning forks. And I got to tell you, when I had that breathing session last time, I get so much vibrations coming through my hand just from the breathing alone, that I ended up in the last session putting my hands to my heart. And it was like, I felt like I'd become a tuning fork. I didn't need a tuning fork anymore. When you talk about the body being able to, that we are the healer, that we have the tool right there. It was just amazing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes.
Teya, what you bring, what you brought to our life, I can't even speak, to our community, the courage, the love. Thank you. This is the reason we do what we do.
And you brought me the courage to share and to be totally transparent. I mean, I didn't put anything away. It just came out, and it's like, I'm an open book, and I want to be in my life because I know I'm here to serve, and I'm here to help a lot of people. And I thank you for opening those doors for me. It's been a very, very important part of my growth and part of my evolution into really acknowledging my divine light and who I am.
Thank you so much. Your story is so powerful, so healing. And this is exactly the reason why we say we cannot judge people, and that everyone has an opportunity to embody their light, embody and overcome the obstacles, the challenges, the difficulties. And you've done it with so much grace and beauty and love. We love you and appreciate you so much.
I love and appreciate you guys so much too. And it was so important for me to work on this because, a person spending 30 freaking years in the 55 level, it's like I needed people to know that it's okay to be wherever we are. Mm-hmm. Because, we can transcend it all. It may take some of us a little extra time to get through, but God damn it, if you're committed to yourself, if you're committed to your growth, you get there, and it's never too late. It's mm-hmm. never too late. I mean, I even created the man of my dreams. And you know what? I'm even more excited now because I think he's interested in doing some trainings with me.
That's so beautiful. And he is such a beautiful human being. It was really a pleasure for us to do his reading as well. So thank you so much for being you. Thank you to everyone for being a part of this community. We can't even express enough appreciation and awe that we feel from all of you. You fill us up. I'm speechless. You fill us up with love. And that's why we always say it's a mutual relationship. Everything that we do as a result of learning from all of you. You're teaching us as much as we are sharing with you. Mm-hmm. And thank you. I'm sure people have some questions for you now. So let's open up for some questions. And yes, by the way, you are an amazing writer. Wow. You're an amazing storyteller.
Beautifully written and expressed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It really just comes right from my soul. It just... Mm-hmm. And it's part of me reclaiming my voice, part of me, because I have a lot to share on this planet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Amazing. And I had no idea that you met Jacob.
I know, isn't that crazy? And David Icke too. I had him. He slept in my home, for goodness sakes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
all in the 90s, in the late 90s.
And now it's like full circle. You have people that are sharing his stuff too. Amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see if you want to take some questions. If anyone has any questions, people are, I think, are deeply touched and inspired.
Bring some
Tissues, yes, please. Yes, we need tissues. I was holding my tears and then I couldn't hold them anymore.
Mhm.
So there is a question for you, Teya. Would you like to read it or would you like for me to read it to you? Sutton is asking you. Teya, did you and Elena talk about the stuck emotions being related to your health, not being where you thought it would be? Wow, there's many things we talked about. Teya, do you want to touch upon it? And one thing I do want to say, and I'm glad you brought it up, because when someone smokes cannabis, right, or marijuana, it actually contains a lot of toxins. So the toxins that you were referring to, actually, a lot of them came from smoking marijuana.
Wow, that's so interesting, Elena. And you know what? 4 months later, I'm still spewing out black gunk from my lungs.
Yes.
So I can feel the effects of it still now after such a length of time.
Yes. But as far as, so Sutton is asking you a question if we discussed the emotions. So if you want to address that briefly.
Which one? The one about the stuck emotions? There wasn't stuck emotions about my health. I was just surprised that my frequency was at 500, given that I'd still not quite gotten, it's like I've been trying all these different things all along. So it's not that I was stuck. It's just that I wasn't as healthy as I wanted to be in spite of everything that I was doing. So I wasn't expecting to see a 500 in that reading. So I don't think that was about stuck emotions. The stuck emotions were more around the physical and the abuse and
right.
All of that, and the birth trauma as well with everything that was going on.
Yes. Yes. It was related more to your relationships overall, and of course to how you relate to how you truly related to yourself. And health, this is why we always say it's not about how healthy or unhealthy someone is, but it's more about what is the emotion connected to it. And for you, it was the love, right? You loved everything related to health aspect, the body, mind, and soul. This is why you were on this journey of working on yourself for so long. And therefore, it was a loving relationship for you, but it's not an indication, right, of health.
Yeah, it was the commitment also to find the answers to solve that puzzle. So what is it that's holding me back?
Mm-hmm, yes, mm-hmm. Yeah. That's correct. Let's see, any other questions? Let's see. People are just touched by you. Are you seeing all the feedback people are writing?
Yes. Yeah.
Robert is asking you a question, Teya, about ayahuasca, if you've done it at one point.
No, I never did ayahuasca. My ex did ayahuasca, the father of my children. And I got to tell you that I felt that was responsible for the breakup even of our marriage, although it was meant to go in that way. But at one point, I looked at him at one point and I thought, who are you? It almost, you talk about entities taking over. As you were sharing about the ayahuasca, I thought to myself, I wonder if he was taken over by entities, because he was not the same man. There was something weird going on and I couldn't pinpoint. I couldn't put my finger on it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Leanne is asking you, how are your relationships with your siblings? Did you have any support from them over your journey?
Well, I left home at such a young age. I left home at 16 and I was the oldest. And a part of me was really sad actually leaving home when I did, because I knew that my young siblings were, still living in that environment. So I felt for them, but there was nothing I could do. in my young age to help them. My youngest sister, there was 10 years between us. So all the rest of them, 4 girls and 1 boy in the family. We've managed to heal a lot, you know, amongst ourselves, but I was always the black sheep of the family, and I'm very different, and we're not on the same page with anything that's going on right now. One of my sisters I no longer communicate with. One I've had a challenging time with, but she was there during my car accident and really loved me and supported me. So for that, I will forever be grateful to her. And it created a bond that's grown stronger and stronger in spite of our differences. And I have my youngest sister is not healthy, and she's totally entrenched in the marijuana and the smoking of cigarettes and the negative energies. And so it's the dysfunctionality kind of continued on throughout. There was never really a closeness that I could really,
Thank you for sharing. Marie is asking, how is your relationship with your boys?
Oh, my boys. It grows and leaps and bounds. My youngest lives in Vienna in Austria, and he's 24 right now. And he's the most, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not at the level of 500, the level of love, because he smiles and the whole world just melts. And he's been working for a shipping company, and he's talking of becoming a counselor. And I thought, wow, you would make a wonderful counselor. And my oldest boy, he's here in Victoria, so he's about an hour away from me. And it was my birthday on Friday, so he came over and made me a beautiful dinner on Sunday for my birthday. And he's got in his mind to record. He wants recordings of times with Mom, because he knows that life is so quick, and so he set up the camera, and we spent an hour cooking, and I was bantering away and just making fun. And he recorded the whole thing because he wants those memories for when I pass on. And I thought that was so sweet and so special. I got to go to Europe and just before COVID hit. I went for a month in 2019 in October, and I spent time with David, and I got to reconnect with their father, with Roberto, who I hadn't seen in like 20 years, haven't really been in touch with him. So we celebrated his birthday together. And I was so grateful that happened, because 3 months later, Roberto was gone. He died. He was, I mean, it's so crazy. He ended up with a diagnosis of fourth, I'm losing my words now. He was at the tail end of pancreatic or liver cancer. And he didn't even know he had it. And so by December, he was gone.
Wow.
So there was a huge healing that happened there. And the boys ended up having to go and spend a bit of time there and stuff like that. It really hit me hard emotionally, but it was such a release as well. And just the thankfulness that we had managed to spend some time. But so out of the ordinary. Life is like that, isn't it? I mean, it's just, you just never know. So you got to take the chance. You got to take the chance to heal all of those things, because sometimes, man, you just never know what's going to happen. And before you know it, people are gone, and that's it.
I think it's so beautiful. Your son recorded you. I wish I was recording my mom. My mom passed away 4 years ago, and I so wish I had videos of her. And I miss it, right? I miss her so much. So that's wonderful.
After his father died, my oldest, they had done some recordings from the family and stuff. I think Roberto had his 70th birthday, and they did a whole life thing of his. And so when Simon saw his dad go so quickly, he ended up coming to me and said, Mom, we need to do some videos. So that wasn't the first one that we did. I did one of speaking about my life and just sharing. And I showed him some things also in my life, and he read what I'd been through, and he looked at me and said, wow, Mom, I never realized you went through so much. But he's on it, and he wants to have the recordings, and I'm a very playful soul, and so I'm game. I'm a bit of a ham, and I think I like being in front of the camera.
Oh, how wonderful. Sutton is asking you, what do you think broke your pattern of unhealthy relationship with men? Like, you mean broke, Sutton, are you talking about like choosing healthier relationships, or what are you referring to?
Yeah, what
Healthier.
helped us to stop
Stop
actually
that.
experiencing the same.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So you chose a healthier relationship.
Well, I really think the car accident shifted me into a whole different dimension. Like it really did. I was more free flowing. I was easygoing. And when I first met Bill, I mean, I met him online, and there he was with a freaking dog in his hands. But when I looked beyond, because I'd never had a dog, I always had cats when I was younger. So I looked beyond that, and there was like crystals in the back of him. And I didn't let the visual of what I saw get in my way. And so we started to dialogue, and I thought, there's something to this guy. And then we had a quick phone conversation, and I really got how kind he was and how generous. He was taking care of his neighbor who was in his 90s. He would go and get shopping for him, and he was feeding him dinner. And he was into crystals, and he was a rock hound. And in that moment, I'd never done that before, but I invited him to have tea with me in my home. And I was living with the other guy still at the time, and because I hadn't managed to get the hell out yet. And so he shows up in my home, and I have crystals of my own, and things just opened up. And I remember driving with him in the car, and I looked up at his face, and I went, I could feel the kindness. I could feel, he was really showing me who he was. And I kind of got in my gut that day, I got, I think I'm going to be with him for the rest of my life. And it just, he was there. He helped me pack. He was there even with Patrick in the same room. I mean, this guy had guts, to just be there. And I hadn't even quite, cleared out the space. And I knew I didn't want to move in with him right away. I thought that would be way too fast. So what I did is I moved out into an apartment kind of halfway, because I live in Souk, and I was in Victoria before. So I found a little place that we could just meet in halfway. He supported me and helped me to pay the rent there. So I would go to work at Bastion Square doing my jewelry. He was coming out to his home because he was doing some renovations and making room for me for down the road. And so we'd meet there, and we did that for a year. And then after the year, the space was all complete and everything was a go. I moved in all my stuff, and I've been here ever since.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so I changed my focus, and I didn't look at just the surface. I went deep, and I really listened to what he was presenting and to what he shared. And I could feel his heart. And we're so similar. I mean, he's at 310 and I'm at 350. And all the way along, it's very similar numbers. He's a little healthier in the finances and relationship, which I thought, well, that's really good because he can help me to. But I was so thrilled to hear that I've raised those numbers. Like, wow, that was quite something.
Yes. And people are asking, what do you think has helped you shift now that you know your new numbers? Of course, we didn't give all of them to you, but the couple that you have shifted, what do you think has helped shift?
The conscious breathing has been a huge player in what I've been doing, because I've been now 3 times. I've had a session almost once every month. I think the detoxing, it's like I'm detoxing at all levels. And I also really took your practices to heart. I do my affirmations every day on my mini trampoline. I'm healthy, I'm strong, I'm courageous. And I just go through it for 10 minutes. And I started to meditate again and to use the tuning forks. I was introduced to the tuning forks at the breathing session. And I thought, oh, I got to get me some of those. I came home and immediately ordered them. I was so thrilled to hear the numbers when you actually did the readings on them. So I've been working with them every day, and I just wash my whole body. I have a bit of an issue with my knee still because I am a bionic woman. I have a lot of metal in me. So I focus the tuning forks on there. So I've just built up a meditative environment. I start off my day with that. I put a coil of golden light around me to protect me. And I think that's what's shifted the levels, and to really realize my value and my being able to trust that, I can share with people and I can be open. So all of that in combination, I think, has taken me. And when you said finances 250, I actually thought of that the other day, Alejandro. I thought, I bet you my finances have probably gone to 250. I mean, that number just came in, and when you said it, I went, oh my God.
Oh, wow.
That is something, and it goes to show how quickly we can shift. I would love to know what my overall frequency is now, because my mindset is different. And I'm a love and light beamer. I'm really just, I'm putting it out there without even thinking about it, because it was always there. And like you said, those numbers that I had at 500, they're my strength. And so I'm tapping into it. And that's why it was so fun cooking with my son, because it's about health, right? So I was in my, I wouldn't be surprised that I'll get to my joy very quickly in that arena.
Yes.
Because we had so much fun, it was great.
Thank you so much for sharing. Any other questions?
Kind of hard to read and to...
I'll read it to you. Oh, Belladonna, is there a frequency reading that would tell of our overall health? That wouldn't be a frequency reading, Belladonna. It would actually be a quantum analysis. This is where I would look into your health. So it wouldn't be from a frequency perspective, because frequency, we're looking at emotions, right? The scale of consciousness is based on emotions. But quantum analysis, actually, Teya was a witness. Angela is here. We did her quantum analysis, so you know exactly what it entails. It's quite extensive. It takes a lot of work to do. So that will tell you exactly where you stand on all kinds of different levels. So, yes.
Yeah, that quantum analysis, I was really blown away with the information and just the insights and everything that you shared. Is like, wow, you're amazing, Elena.
Thank you. Thank you. But that's the part that will give you answers to your health. But frequency does not, because it's only looking at emotions. Oh, there's Lady D. Angela. Highly recommend to have quantum done. Life changer. Yes, Angela. Angela is the medium, psychic medium. Yes, it's all on the website, so you can look this up. Teya, there's one more song you wanted to sing.
Yes. And everyone should join in on that one, because it's a really special one. Are you guys ready? I want you all to sing with me. I repeat it 3 times. 3 seems to be a good number. I do the tuning forks 3 times, I do all the different meridians and everything. Okay, it goes like this. Hang on, I just need a bit of water. You can hold your heart chakra when you're singing this one, because it really speaks right to that place. Okay. We are all one spirit. We are all one spirit. We are all one spirit on our way home. Everybody wants to come home. We are all one spirit. We are all one spirit. We are all one spirit on our way home. Everybody wants to come home. We are all one spirit. We are all one spirit. We are all one spirit on our way home. Everybody wants to come home.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my story. And I hope I can be an inspiration to everyone out there who's struggling, who's going through so much in this world right now. There's a lot of shit going down, and it's so important to be there to support each other through it. And our stories are very, very powerful mediums. They pack a punch.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You know, last week we talked about sending healing to bodies of water, that we'll start doing that, but I don't want to take away from what just happened today. So I think we'll leave it for starting next week.
Yes.
Because right now, I think we're all just bathing in the beauty that you shared with us, of your energy, your life story, the beautiful voice, the music, the songs. Yes.
I love you guys so much.
We love you too.
More and more and more.
We do too. You know, imagine if we all unite, as many people as possible here on this platform, and for people to really be able to truly hear one another. Because what you've done today is actually something that has been our biggest mission, is to teach people to take the judgment out of the equation, out of the conversation. And yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding everyone here about truly what's important.
I'm reading the sideline and everybody's crying. Well, you know, when I sing my songs, I always have tears, it seems. It just starts to flow. So I'm glad I can make people cry, because it's such a gift to cry.
Yes.
People hold back so much. And for me, I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. And it's part of the flow. You need to keep that energy going and just get it out there. So, yeah.
Like a spiritual cleansing.
I'm happy to be touching people in that way. So your tears are very welcomed.
Thank you. I cry a lot too. I cry when I laugh and when I'm deeply touched. Yes.
It's us water signs, Elena.
Yes. Yeah. Tanya says your journey should be a book. Yes, please.
I will consider that very seriously.
The Adventures of Teya.
The hero's journey, Teya's hero's journey. Tanya wants to know what your sign is, Teya.
I'm a Cancer. I had my birthday on Friday, July 2nd.
Yes. Happy birthday, Tanya.
Thank you.
Many blessings to you this year. Health, love, joy.
It's all happening. I can feel it just pouring in. Yeah, I'm taking it to a whole different level now, and I'm ready.
Yes.
I'm ready to take in life and to get, like my affirmation says, and the one that I've been saying since the first, I am worthy of the very, very best that love and life have to offer me. And I want to embody that.
And you do. And you do. Beautiful. Yes. Let's see. I think you're much appreciation for the whole community. I'm just reading some of the comments. So yes. Thank you. Thank you all for being here with us.
I think I left them speechless, Elena.
You did. You did. Oh. If any of you would love to share your stories, of course, if we didn't ask you, please let us know. As you can see, everyone matters. Every story is important. And yes, together we create a powerful force of love, light, and we're all connected here. Look at all the continents that are present. We have Malaysia, we have Europe, we have North America, South America. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yes, creating ripple effects throughout the world.
Yes, yes.
I love that.
Thank you.